Good evening. It is 7:01 on Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. This is a hearing for the Speedway Board of Zoning Appeals. My name is Curtis Miller, Vice Chairman of the BZA, and attending this evening to my left are Steve Jones, Secretary, and to my right, Hayden Flynn. Also in attendance is Eder Lopez, our Recording Secretary, and Mitchell Rector, our staff person from Etica. Eder, have all those who wish to speak been sworn in? Eder is indicating that they have. I ask everyone to please silence your cell phones. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rules for this hearing. The presenter of the petition, any remonstrators, and any proponents will each have 15 minutes to present evidence or comments. Following their presentations, we'll hear our staff report from our representative from Etica. After the staff report, we will allow up to 5 minutes of rebuttal each for the petitioner and any remonstrators and or proponents. The first item of business is the approval of meeting minutes from June 4th, 2025. June 4th, 2025. Does anybody have any changes or corrections? No. All right, hearing none, the minutes are accepted as is. All right, next item of business is petition number 2025-DVS-005. 5318 Carlton Way. Can the petitioner or representative approach the podium, state your name and address for the record?
Good evening. My name is Vince Braun. I'm with Coach House Garages, and my address is 1617 South N Street in Elwood, Indiana, 46036.
Perfect. Please begin.
Okay, so we are proposing to build and something I didn't notice, and the nice young lady pointed out. So on the drawings, it says that the building was a 35 by 45. It is actually 30 by 40. The owner reduced the size, and when I redid the drawings, I apparently forgot to change that in the description on the drawings there at the bottom. So it is a 30 by 40, so we are 1,200 square feet, not 1,500 and some. So given that, going by what the city told me, the city of Indianapolis told me, we are still 328 square feet larger than the main residence on the property. So that is what we are petitioning for, as well as height, from what I understand. Although the walls are 15 foot tall, it's a 412 pitch, so my trusses are only going to, and we didn't put a heel on it, so my trusses are only going to be about 4 feet tall. So we're really only 19 feet tall, where the house, I believe, is like 20 feet tall. So we should be okay there, but it is still kind of close. So if that still needs to be considered, we are open to that. There is an existing garage on the property. It's a 2-car garage. It's an older garage. The homeowner did just buy this property this year. He does not know what his plans are for that garage, whether it's going to stay or not. It is in a bit of disrepair, so he's not sure. That is not something that is in my purview with what we are planning to build. So he has an RV that he wants to park on the property. Right now he keeps it at someone else's property where he can be parked inside. And given the value of that RV, he does like to keep it inside and out of the weather, so as not to break down, from the weather and things like that. So that's why he wants to build this building. For the main reason is for that. The other is for storage of other items that he has, like his lawnmower. And, I think he has some other outside equipment that he wants to store in there as well. He didn't actually give me a whole list of things. He just said the building would be well used. We've been building garages for 50 years. Coach House has. We only build very high quality things. If you ever go on our website, you are welcome to see what we do. We will put frost footers under this building because it is over the 720 square feet that you have to do. Our concrete is very well done. It has all the rebars and everything in it that it needs to do. So basically, it's a building where he just needs to be able to store his things from his moving there. I guess where he lived, he had room for these things, but now he's sold that property, so he doesn't. So he has to keep the RV somewhere else as well as some of his other things that he wants to store. It will match pretty well with the house and everything that's there as far as the outside items and things like that. It also, if you look at the site plan there that I included, which should be the last bit of the drawings, the property will, the building will sit back in the property, so it's not going to be real visible from the street. I mean, you will be able to see it because it is a good-sized building as far as that goes. That way. So is there any other information I can help you with or any questions that you may have?
What is the, it looks like right now there's a gravel driveway
Yes.
that goes that way. Is that, would that be extended?
I believe that is his plan. That part, again, is not the part we're doing. He didn't have me quote that to him. And that's common in what we do. We do get some people say, yes, I want you to do the driveway too and do this. But I believe, yes, he's probably going to extend that gravel driveway back to where that's going to be. He's had to do quite a bit of cleaning up of that property. It was owned by an older gentleman, or rented by an older gentleman, I believe. I can't remember if the gentleman owned it or not. So it was quite a bit of disrepair that he has started already cleaning the property up and doing quite a bit in that regard.
Any other questions?
Not at this time.
Not right now.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Are there anybody else who'd like to speak for or against this petition at this time? Please step forward, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Pam Brozan. I live at 5312 Carlton Way. I also own, my mom lives at 5312 Carlton Way. I own that property, and my mom lives there. And I own 5360 Carlton Way. So this property is right in between my properties. I'd like to first point out that the petitioner is not even here to even talk about this. I've never met him or her or whoever. They do not live there full time. So there's seldom any person there. My concern is, one, the garage is bigger than the house in every aspect, right? Length, width, height. It'll be a huge, looking down from my property, I'll be able to see this giant garage. There's no water plan on there. There'll be gutters, but that water will drain off to the lawn into our stormwater system. Speedway already has flooding issues. We have neighbors who have to pay extra to live in a flood zone. This huge garage would be contributing to that. So I would encourage the board to vote no to the petition. I think that if he just wants to store his camper there, he could definitely make it smaller. Nevertheless, if you do decide to approve it, there was that inconsistency in the drawing, which he has now cleared up, that it is 30 by 40 and should be no taller than 20 feet. I think the owner should put in, ensure all the runoff from that giant pole barn has gutters, downspouts, and that the water is retained on his property through a rain garden or a pond, something like that, or underground retention if he wants. And then he should provide screening or native planting around it to soften it so it looks nicer. And since if you do decide to approve it, you're doing him a big favor, I think he should do a favor for the neighborhood, and that would be to remove all the invasive species that are on his property. I brought a list of the invasive species as well, but there's a lot of honeysuckle bush that is on his property, because his property is along the B&O Trail. And so you can see that. And that is an invasive species that bees and butterflies, nobody uses. And so it's just clogging up our environment. So, and I did submit, that's basically the summary of what I submitted on this, which, because I thought it was going to be last month, but it's got postponed. So that's my thoughts.
Okay.
So you said you have the properties on both sides of this one?
I have a property on both sides.
Both sides.
Not directly on both sides, but 3 houses down and then 2 houses down.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Mitchell?
Good evening. My name is Mitch Rector. I'm from Etika Group. Our office is at 8720 Castle Creek Parkway East Drive. I'm just going to begin by saying that I'm not really recommending approval of this petition. There's 2 separate petitions that are being asked, or 2 separate variances that are being asked for here, both related to the size of the garage. It is written that you cannot have the horizontal land use area by one accessory building greater than the primary building. And then separately, it's you cannot have the height of an accessory building exceed the height of the primary building. So let's go over the neighborhood. The lot in question is 3/4 acres zoned in the D1 Eaglewood subdivision. It's already improved with a residential dwelling and the detached parking garage. There's trees along the property, especially in the rear where it abuts the B&O Trail. There's a 4-foot tall chain link fence around the site as well. The site is surrounded by a D2 zone to the south and a D6 type 2 zone to the west, which are both also residential. The Park 1 and special use zones are to the north where there's Leonard Park, and the special use 2 and D5 zones are over to the east. It was noted that the minimum lot width in a D1 zone, as listed in the Consolidated Zoning Ordinance Manual, is 90 feet. According to the property card on Map Indy, this lot is only 75 feet wide. That doesn't appear to factor into any issues with sizes of structures here, but it was something that I noted, that this is kind of outside of a normal sized lot for this sort of a zone. So the existing structure is about 900 square feet, and the proposed is 1,200 square feet without including any roof overhangs, and that is the updated 30 by 40 dimension. Neighboring structures on directly either side are about 1,500 square feet and 960 square feet. The proposed accessory structure would be larger than both the primary structure on the petitioner's lot and on an adjacent lot. I do think that there could be a possibility for a smaller garage that would still be able to fit this RV and would bring it closer to a 900 square foot size. While this would still mildly exceed the primary structure footprint, it would bring it closer into compliance and reduce the proposed roof height to something that's a little bit more manageable. It was noted in the documents that were supplied that there is an existing overhead power line that runs through these backyards, through this neighborhood. It looks like, based on the proposed location, that this structure would conflict with the power line. I did speak with Vince on the phone a few weeks ago, and he had said that that's an issue that's usually resolved between the owner and the utility company when that does happen. But it was just something that I noted, that based on a site visit, there are power lines running through the backyards here. The main concern here is that this neighborhood is primarily structures that are 1 to 1.5 story tall, pretty close to size of the existing primary on lot. There's just some concern about approving a larger structure and increasing this kind of density of buildings within the lots here. There doesn't appear to be a confliction with green space or open space, so if the board did vote to approve, then there wouldn't be any separate ordinances that are being violated. It would just be strictly the size of the structure and the height of the structure.
Any questions?
No, not yet.
Not at this point.
All right, thank you. Sir, would you like to come up and rebuttal anything?
Drainage. So if need be, we can work with that part of it. There are gutters that will be put on the building. We put them on all of our buildings, unless the homeowner specifically asks us not to quote it because they're going to do it themselves afterwards. But they are included in this project, and we'll get them. They would be put on. I'm sure he's open to whatever may be recommended for drainage. I don't really understand how it's going to create more stormwater because it already rains on that spot of land and the water's draining however it's draining right now. So I guess I don't understand. It's the same amount of rain whether it's falling on a building or it's falling on the ground or snow or whatever it may be. However, I will talk with Mr. Anderson about that. As far as him not being here, I'll be honest with you, I've done quite a few variances in my time with Coach House in Indianapolis, Zionsville, now here. I'm usually the one that's there. There was only one that they did ask, it was an odd question. They wanted to know how many chickens the guy had on his property in Zionsville, so we had him come on video through the Zoom thing, and he was able to be there for a few minutes just to answer questions about animals on his property in Zionsville. So I usually am the one that does it because I'm the one representing. I usually ask them if they want to come, and most people are like, should I? And I'm like, it's up to you. Most people don't, but it's up to you. It doesn't bother me either way as far as that goes. Again, the building will be sitting back on the property. We don't do anything with the landscaping when we build the building. I've tried to work with some landscapers as a subcontractor with me. It's hard to find somebody to travel to all the areas that we do. So I'd found one up in Hamilton County, but all they wanted to do was work in Hamilton County. Well, this region for Coach House, we build in 5 states. Our main office is in Arthur, Illinois. Indianapolis, it covers Marion County, Hancock County, Hamilton County, Boone County, Hendricks County. So it's hard to find somebody that will travel that much. It's hard enough to find a concrete guy that will travel that much, or an electrician. It's even worse trying to find a landscaper, apparently, because the only one I talked to that wanted to do anything was there. So homeowners usually take care of the landscaping on their own. We do a rough backfill and grade the land so that it will drain properly. Indianapolis, we did always have to supply a drain thing for the permits and things like that. Usually just when we were tearing a building down, they wanted to see around how we were going to take care of drainage that way. But they didn't ask for one, and now Indianapolis isn't even doing drainage permits. They've completely stopped doing that. So I don't know if they're going to include that in the ILP, or I don't know. But as far as that goes, whether he'd want to do a smaller building or not, I don't know. Would you have an idea of how small you would want the building?
I think if we could bring it under maybe 1,000 square feet, I'd probably be more willing to do a recommendation here.
Okay. And I'm open to talk to him about that to see if he could still put his RV in that size building and be able to store some of his things as far as that goes. I have talked to him before about making the building smaller, and he and I kind of worked through some different things, and he was like, let's just continue how we are. So it's not that he's not willing to work to make this work out. We just have to find out. As far as the invasive species and things like that, I mean, he's cleaning up the property. The property was a disaster when I first went there to look. There was just stuff everywhere from the people that lived there before. And all he can do is clean up as he goes. And I don't know if he's planning to do anything about invasive species, but I'm more than willing to ask him again about that. I have no problem asking those kind of questions to try to make this work for him and to work for his neighbors as well. Is there any other questions I can answer, or?
Yeah, I have a couple, I guess. You touched on your footing for the building,
Yes.
and I guess I didn't hear what you said, or I didn't understand
Oh.
what you said.
According to code, any building 721 square feet or larger has to have frost footers, 32 inch.
Right.
So where we are right now with a 1,200 square foot building, and even if we get down under 1,000, it's probably still going to need frost footers. So we do those, and then we have an inspection that they come out and they do the inspection, and we put all the mesh and rebar and everything that we have to do. We put, it's not coming to me, fiber in the concrete. But yeah, the concrete guy that I use is very good. His name's Froy. And he comes out and does a very nice job and gets everything ready. He'll usually dig the footers on one day, like he did for me one yesterday, get everything ready for inspection. I'll call the inspection in. Does Indianapolis handle the inspections out in Speedway, or does Speedway?
No.
Even though this is an
Speedway
Indianapolis.
does.
Speedway will do it? Okay, that's why I'm trying to find out. This is the first one I've built out here. So, so he gets everything ready for inspection, and then I'm guessing that when I call in the inspection, it'll probably be the next day before you guys inspect. And then the day after that, he'll pour. Or he may pour the same day after you get done with the inspection if it's early enough in the day. It just depends. But he'll pour. And then I come out and I measure the concrete, and then we send that concrete measurement sheet over to Coach House, and they start building. So it sounds like a prefab building. It is, but it isn't, because everything is built specifically for the homeowner. We even have our own truss factory, and they are engineered truss, as you can see by my drawings. But yeah, we don't keep like 30-foot walls sitting around waiting for somebody to order a 30-foot building. Everything's built specifically for the homeowner. It is not a pole barn. This is a frame-built building. It is Amish built. I'm not Amish, but the guys that build them are. And so it is an Amish-built building. They will come over, the day that they come over, put it up, they'll put the building up pretty much in one day. They'll show up around 8:30 in the morning. The building will be put up, the walls and everything will be up by 10 o'clock. And they'll put the trusses on and start getting all the siding stuff done. They may have to come back a second day and do some trim work, maybe hang the overhead doors, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a building that they've been doing for 50 years. They know what they're doing. They do a very good job.
Okay, I did have another question for you about your height.
Yes.
You said that the trusses were how high?
It's a 412 truss.
Right.
Going on a 15-foot building. So 412 truss, we usually fall somewhere between 4 and 5 feet, depending on the length of the truss.
Okay.
So I believe we're like 19 and a half feet when I figured it out, but I may be.
Okay. Because I guess I was looking at your measurements on your truss drawing here, and maybe I'm incorrect. And if I am, correct me.
Unless like I said, I may have figured it wrong on my end. That's the engineered truss drawing, so that would be the correct height. What does it say? I'm sorry.
I don't know. I guess you can tell me what it says.
I don't have my reading glasses on, so I'm going to do the best I can.
Okay.
I left them out in the truck, and by the time I figured I did that, I was already in here. To the bottom of the eave, it says 6 foot.
I think it's 6'8", but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, because of the bottom of the eave. So it's got 16-inch eaves on it, so that's going to stretch that down a little longer. But it does say 6'1", so I'm saying that I was probably a little bit wrong. So we will be over 20 feet by a foot.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to mislead you.
No,
I just was
no,
going by what I had figured when I was back at my office, and I was trying to figure it quick so we could get over here. And so yes, we will be over, and so yes, we are trying to work against the height as well.
Okay. I had one more thing, I believe, but. Oh, you mentioned the old garage. What
Yes.
did you say about it? I'm sorry.
There's some disrepair to it, and he's not sure what he's going to do with it. I don't know if he's going to keep it or not. That's not, again, that's not anything that I quoted for him. Usually, if we're going to tear down a garage, that's figured, they'll tell me, hey, I want you to tear down the garage too, and I figure that in the quote, and then they know what it's going to cost. And my guy goes out there and tears it down in a couple of days and gets ready.
Sure. So Indianapolis said he could keep it there?
Indianapolis has said so, yes.
Okay.
The only thing Indianapolis questioned was the height, or was the size of the building.
The size and the height?
Yeah. On the thing, it only talks about the size. From reading the email on it, I believe it only said the size. I may have missed that part on the height. I was reading over the email again today because I was worried about the miscommunication on the size of the building, and I was trying to remember, I wanted to make sure I was telling you right when we were like 328 square feet over, so.
Okay.
But Mitch did ask me when he called me about the height of the house and asked me if it's over 20 feet, and I said, I don't believe it is.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's all I got.
Any questions, Hayden?
No.
There was one other real quick point about the electrical. That is what we do, and we do that, we have to do that a lot with the way electrics ran, especially because of the older neighborhoods in Indianapolis and things like that, is we have to have the homeowner get a hold of AES or Duke or whoever it is and have it moved. And that's just how this would go in this situation. He just gets a hold of them, and they usually send an engineer out, and the engineer tells them, okay, I can put another pole over here, or maybe we can bury it, or whatever. They figure that out. I can't call them even because the homeowner has to call them.
All right.
I guess I have one question. So you applied for a permit for Indianapolis, and it looks like you applied for one for Speedway.
So there was confusion because his address is an Indianapolis address, but he told me he lived in Speedway.
Okay.
And then I think I applied for it in Speedway, and Speedway says, no, you got to apply for this. Speedway told me I got to apply for an ILP in Indianapolis. So that's what I did.
Okay.
And then that's where we got to where we are now. So then I thought, okay, so I applied for the variance in Indianapolis because they're the one that told me I need it. And they said, no, you apply for that in Speedway. So
Okay.
it's kind of the way it works with the smaller communities like Lawrence and stuff, Speedway.
And I guess neither mention drainage as a concern or a drainage plan as a.
Indianapolis only asked for it whenever we were tearing a building down, and then I would have to I'd have to show the drainage off of us tearing that building down. Indianapolis does not ask for one when I apply for a permit when I don't have to tear a building down.
Okay. Okay, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other rebuttals? All right.
Curtis,
Yeah.
I did just want to briefly mention, again, the only thing that really is, I guess, creating the denial here is the fact that this neighborhood is mostly 1 to 1.5 story smaller homes. And it's kind of a character of the neighborhood kind of decision. I'm really not concerned about drainage here. We have, I think, a pretty adequate setback. If this were approved I think it was 9 feet, 8 or 9 feet. The minimum is 3 for the side yard. And it sounds like they have gutters proposed. So I'm kind of less concerned about that. It is more, again, the character of the neighborhood, and if the neighbor is okay with suddenly having a big 20-foot wall where there previously wasn't. So.
Okay. All right. Well, so if there are no other questions, I can either entertain a motion, commitments, or a discussion on this petition.
I guess the only concerns, or things we have is about him talking to the owner about size. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much what it is.
So I am also, we've got our 3 findings of fact. First one being the grant will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. We have had one individual who's come forward to talk about how I think this would interfere with the general welfare of the community due to the size of the structure. And it sounds from from Mitchell, we've heard that if this structure was smaller, it would be more in keeping with the general welfare of the community and the general character of the community. That being said, we can table this petition for a period of time. We don't have to wait till the next BZA meeting. We can set a meeting sooner than that. If the petitioner, if you want to go back to the petitioner and ask about a smaller garage, we can reconvene in, 2 weeks maybe?
Good in a week.
We could reconvene in a week.
I can get those answers. I can probably get those answers tomorrow, quite
Okay.
honestly, or by the end of the week anyway. But yeah, if I could get back with you, say in a week.
Yeah, so we can reconvene on that. We can see what, if anything, the petitioner is willing to do in regards to reducing the size of this structure, as well as get updated drawings, correct drawings for the petition.
Make sure everything's correct.
And we can move forward with that. So if everybody's in agreement.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, we will table this petition. We will reconvene on today's the first, so it'd be the 8th. Yes, at 7 p.m. If Eder, can you double check real quick on is this going to be available, or are we going to step on somebody else? It's at 5.
Otherwise, there's 2 meetings.
If it's at 5. And the date,
The 8th.
the 8th. I'm good. I'll make sure I am.
Well, what about Thursday?
Thursday, we're good.
Okay, so we would do.
9th.
Okay, so we will reconvene October 9th at 7 p.m. in this room to reconsider this petition. All right, with no other business, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you.